Welcome to Level Up Real Estate Investing Podcast with Robert Hyder. This is a no-fluff podcast where we dig deep into the journey of scaling your real estate investing and wholesaling business and discuss how to break into commercial real estate investing. Robert Hyder here with Level Up Real Estate Investing Podcast. For those who don't know me, I'll go through my journey a little bit here. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, lower middle class family. First member of my family to traditionally go to college. Out of college, I got into commercial real estate finance. It worked out really well. I was one of the youngest vice presidents of commercial real estate lending in St. Louis at the age of 25. During my time, I underwrote over $1 billion in commercial real estate deals. And then transitioned into full-time entrepreneurial real estate investing in 2013. When I got into real estate investing personally, I focused more on real estate rehabs, did some rentals and wholesales as I was trying to learn the wholesaling game. I quickly realized that the wholesaling side of the business was more scalable, focused on that heavy, and over the 6 years had exponential growth. In 2019, we will have purchased over 200 houses for wholesale, as well as running a real estate brokerage that'll do 60 million plus in transactions. We started and have since sold a residential property management company, and we've made a big transition into commercial real estate lending. Commercial real estate deals. We made a big transition into commercial real estate deals. We own and manage over 110,000 square feet of commercial space, as well as 60 plus residential doors. And the reason I go through all this for you guys is to get into the mission of this podcast, the real reason that I'm here. This is for next level thinkers. We're gonna be talking about the newest ideas, the most innovative stuff. We're gonna be talking about the 1% and 2% difference, the it factor, the edge, the stuff that really makes some investors great while other investors fail. We're gonna be digging deep into work-life balance, mindset. We're going to be having interviews with some of the top folks in the industry, both in the residential and commercial real estate investing sectors, as well as high-level finance guys, maybe even tech guys that have scaled big businesses. If you want to be the best investor that you can be, and you want to get opened up to folks that are doing huge things, how they think, how they make decisions, how they process data, you're in the right spot. Ali, you good?
It's rolling. Everything is good.
All right. Welcome to Level Up Real Estate Investing Podcast. Very excited to be here with Raul Bolufe out of Miami, Florida. What's up, my man?
What's up, dog?
Oh, just living it. Not living it like you guys are. We got some snow last week, so.
Are you riding like your snowmobile to work nowadays, or what?
No, not yet. But that's not a terrible idea.
Is it snow really bad over there now, or what?
No, not bad. No, it's not too bad at all. We got snow for the first time, a week or two ago. Okay. Yeah, not just like an inch. In late December, we might get a little bit, or kind of into December, we'll get a little bit. Really like January, into early February is kind of our main snowy times. But when we get some, and we'll get them. I mean, they're saying this year's gonna be a bad year, so we'll keep track. But
we'll make a trip, man. Make a trip down here so get away from the cold for a little bit.
That's right. I'm just jealous, So cool, man. Well, give me a little. Give us a little. Well, I know all about you, but give us a little background for the podcast. Just kind of where you started, how you got there, where you are now, and all the cool stuff that you got going on.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me on again, man. I'm excited. I had been seeing you on like Instagram and Facebook, posting more, kind of giving back. I'm like, man. I text you randomly. I'm like, I was talking to Lewis, and I'm like, dude, we should collab somehow. And then here we are, like a week or two later. So, thanks for coming on. That was cool.
Absolutely, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. But yeah, so to get a little background on me and more of like how I got started, right? It's kind of what I guess would help.
Yeah.
So it's about 6 years ago. I was selling cars at my father has a used car dealership down here. And so I started washing cars at like 15, 16 years old. Then after like working there for 2 years in the sun, washing some cars and stuff, I got the opportunity to be a commission-only salesman, yeah. But I loved it. Like that moment, I was like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do it. But he said, you can do it, but I'm not going to teach you anything. Like I don't have time. Like you're just going to go and you're just going to figure it out. I was 18. And I'm like, all right, the only thing I figured to do was, all right, let me like hang out with like the best salesman there.
Yeah.
And like they kind of had to hang out with me because I was the son. So, like I used that to my advantage. And whatever, I just learned how to sell some cars. And then I was doing that. And then a couple years down the road, I think I was 18 when I was like 20, 21, was when I listened to Sean Terry's podcast for the first time.
Okay.
And yeah. And the reason I listened to the podcast was because I was actually studying economics in college and I had a big exam coming up and I didn't feel like reading the book. So I'm like, let me like see if there's like an economics podcast that I could like listen to while I'm like laying down or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I came, I started listening to it. It was boring. And then I came across Sean's, I don't know if it could have been fate. It could have been good advertising. I don't know. But
Yeah.
It popped up. I listened to it. And I'm like, damn, that's interesting. And it just so happened that my stepdad had flipped his like second house. He had just started like flipping houses.
Okay.
I'm like, dude, have you heard of wholesalers? He's like, yeah, I just bought a house from a wholesaler. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, man, I heard about it. It sounds so interesting. He's like, actually, I think that it shows that he coaches people. I'm like, oh crap. So he put me in contact with him. And then a couple weeks later, I had like my first like coaching consultation with him, whatever, in person.
Wait, with who?
With the local wholesaler.
Okay, the local wholesaler guy.
My stepdad.
Okay,
yeah.
Very cool.
And it just shows you, like, man, like when you start looking for stuff,
yeah,
you find it. Like I don't know. And yeah, I coached with him for a couple months. I learned how to it took me like 3 months to do a deal, and he's the one who taught me how to do MLS. So I learned from him how to do MLS. So then I did one deal, and then that's pretty much how I got started. It was like a weird inching my way into it. And then shortly after, I quit the dealer and just started doing it full time and hitting it full head on.
Oh, that's super cool, man. So you were like studying for economics, looking for any way to procrastinate, and you stumbled across Sean Terry's podcast. That's so cool.
And
what's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, fun fact, I still haven't finished my economics degree, but I have one class left.
Wow.
3 credits. I literally have 3 credits left, one class. It's the last class needed is undergrad seminar of economics or whatever. And I'm planning to go in January to finish it. So
yeah, man, you should rock that out. Hell, it'll probably be easy now. Now you like understand the world. Kind of like how it works, right?
I went 2 semesters ago and I took like econometrics or one of those classes.
Yeah.
That is so tough. And it's weird. It's like calculus and economic theory. Oof, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm going to go. I'm going to do it for my mom and I'm going to do it for me.
There you go. I love it. I love that you're going to conclude it though, but that's super cool. And that's funny, man. Cause randomly enough, Sean Terry is kind of what got me started too. And the same with my partner, John. Yeah. Like I was in banking and I think I've told the story to you before, but like, banking's just, it's a boring kind of career. Right. And, but so I'd go work out in the mornings before I had kids. I'd go work out in the mornings and I'd listen to podcasts and I stumbled across his one day and I was like, whoa, okay. And I'd already known about rehabbing and selling houses. Like I'd known about that. And I think I'd even like maybe done 1 or 2 at this point. Just kind of on the side. But then I heard it. I was like, oh my gosh, it was like the biggest eye opener. So I knocked through like, I don't know, 100 episodes in like a month, just like rocking through. I was like in the bank working with headphones in and just like knocking them out at like 1.5 times speed, Yeah. It was, it was solid though.
And find out about the speed thing until like 2 years ago. So for like 3 years, I've been listening to books and podcasts at 1 speed. I'm like, what does this button do? I'm like, oh my God. And bro, it's so great. I wish I would have found out.
Oh no. Honestly, the first time that I actually met Sean, I was like, what the hell, is this dude high or something? Why is he talking so slow? I've been listening to him at like 1.5 and 2 times speed on podcasts for so long. When I finally met him, I was like, what's going on? We slowed him down. Oh yeah. But no, and honestly, just now, I don't know if you've seen this, but on YouTube now you can speed up the episodes. So forever I couldn't figure out how to speed them up on YouTube, and now you can do that too.
That's really YouTube cool. I do it as well. Now it's like I live my life listening to speed up things.
Yeah. No, that's super cool, man. So yeah, you got out of the car dealership world, got into houses, kind of got taught by a local guy, gave you the know-how. You got into the kind of MLS side of it, which is really unique and interesting. Not before meeting you, I had hadn't really even heard of that aside from folks that were doing like HUD home store flips and things like that. But yeah, you guys had a really, really cool kind of process for doing that. But why don't you go over a little bit of that? How did that work?
Yeah. So I was just telling you now before the call, we're not doing it as much anymore. And I can go into a little bit. I don't want to bore you guys. But so basically how the MLS works and how I see it is the MLS is just another marketing source, right? We send mail, people send RVMs, people do text blasts, people do cold calling. Well, the MLS just see it as another place that you can find sellers, make offers, and get deals accepted or not accepted. And to be successful, you just got to track it the way that you track any other campaign. So that's the overall like kind of overview of how we see the MLS. And now if you wanted to go like in depth, basically the name of the game is just offers, submitting offers as quickly as possible and submitting a lot of offers and getting back obviously to the agents, you know, and just getting deals. So for instance, our numbers are about 50 to 60 to 1. So let's say 60 offers gets you 1 signed contract.
Yeah.
So now it just becomes how quickly can you make 60 offers? And how many contracts does it take you to sell the contract? And that's pretty much the name of the game.
Nice. Well, that's a really interesting way, right? So folks that are just looking for another avenue to kind of, you know, open up some deal flow, you know, that could be a pretty good little resource where, you know, you kind of have an employee just kind of over there doing it. You know, it's probably not, I assume while you're kind of getting out of it a little bit, you know, you kind of must see something from scalability of it, but you know, I'm sure that there are still some deals that kind of limp in from that source and you'll continue to use.
Yeah. And I'll quickly tell you guys like why we're not in it as heavy anymore. It was just taking a lot of effort and time to get to that deal. Mm-hmm. We're averaging about 10K profit per MLS deal, which is great because you don't really have any marketing costs.
Yeah.
But what's happening is we're at about 270 offers per closed deal.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So you can get deals under contract and you can even sell them. But really when we started to look at it was taking us 270 offers to get 1 closed deal. And 1 agent couldn't do that in a month or about 270 in the month, let's say. Mm-hmm. But really each agent was doing 1 deal per month and it just wasn't enough meat on the bone for an agent to make enough money to do it. So back then when we first started, we were like at, you know, like I said, maybe 60 offers to get 1 closed deal. And then it's almost tripled. And it's just, you know, it could be market condition, competition, listing ratio, listings and agents, amount of buyers on whatever. I don't like to blame the market, but just pure statistics is, you know, it's tripled and it's not worth it at this moment. I'm sure in January or, you know, maybe first quarter next year when some kind of foreclosures come back, short sales come back, I think we'll have another opportunity. So it's not like I'm leaving it forever. I'm just leaving it for right now. And then when I see the opportunity, I'm jumping back in. Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. You know, wait till you start getting back to, I assume, the 100 and something and less offers per to make it make sense.
Yeah. I think if we get to 100 it makes sense.
Well, and it sounds like your margin drastically increased as you kind of went into some direct marketing avenues more so than the MLS avenues, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, that's really
the off-market stuff's so cool. I think off-market, I remember first going to the first mastermind or these events. I'm like, man, what you guys do is so cool, you know? Like, they're like, what do you mean? What do you do? I'm like, I do stuff on MLS. Like, what? You know, what you do is cool. I'm like, huh? You know, so it was a cool dynamic. And when I started learning about it from Sean, I started doing off-market always. You know, like I had always my mailers going out, this and that.
Yeah.
And I'd probably always do maybe like 15 to 20 deals a year off-market, kind of just like doing it myself, little things. But now I just want to focus, you know, and build the system out just for that.
Yeah. So what marketing channels can you talk about that you're doing off-market these days?
So the one that we're focusing a ton on now is in-house cold callers. So yeah, in-house commission-based cold callers. So we have like super low cost per lead and low cost per deal, but it's a very like high management system.
Yeah. It's not, we have that model as well. So we have in-house cold callers. And then we've got some out of market cold callers as well.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of virtual assistant based cold callers, but that's just it. You have to manage them. It's not like dropping paper mail or, PPC or some kind of web-based or Facebook ads. Like, you actually have to manage these folks, and then, and based on that management will have a huge impact on the quantity of deals that you're getting, quality of leads that you're getting, and then appointments and so on and so forth. So it's really cool.
It's one of those things that, like, you see it and you know that it could be valuable, right? Like, everybody knows that cold calling makes money. Like, we don't, there's numbers to prove it, statistics, people, companies. It's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
But not a lot of people are willing to put the work in on the management.
Yeah.
And I question it all the time. Like, man, it's just so freaking hard sometimes. But then you see the reward and how low dollars you're spending per, it's just great if you can get there.
Yeah.
So that's the main channel I'm on right now. And like I told you, I want to get some virtual callers now and probably starting some text blasting, but I don't have any data to support any of those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But calling's badass, man.
Yeah.
It takes a little time.
Well, that's just it, and the good news is it's like we're in an industry specifically, in the kind of the wholesaling business where there's relatively low barriers to entry, right? Which is a good thing that got us and other folks like us into the industry. But once you're in it and you're trying to set yourself apart, it makes it really difficult because there's just, so little barriers to entry that anyone can go out and throw out some mail and, try and get a deal done or whatever. But the cold calling aspect, until there's some kind of regulatory change to some degree, right? But the cold calling aspect makes it so that there is some more barrier to entry, right? Just to your point, it's hard. You have to have an actual facility. You have to manage them. Based on how well you manage them will base the output. So there's something to be said about that. Obviously, the VA cold callers are a little bit different ball game. Well, you're probably not going to get. Well, I know that we're not going to get the same level of output from that side of it as we will in-house. But at the same point, you don't have to have all of that, quite that same level of management. So it's kind of a numbers game. Do you have two virtual cold callers to produce the same output as one local, cold caller and then, things of that nature. But it is good that there's some barriers associated with it as you look to scale to try and differentiate yourself, from other folks.
I think it's an awesome idea that you're doing it. And I think it's an awesome idea to have like in-house and outbound, like just so you're almost like diversified in the same marketing strategy. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
might as well have in-house callers and a virtual caller than like you're just getting leads from both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And take that same list and do the texting or whatever other avenues that you kind of want to do with it. I'll tell you I'll tell you an interesting little thing that we found the other day is that maybe everyone does this already, but so there's essentially all the lists that you're skipping and getting, skip tracing and getting all that data and everything, taking all that data and then uploading it into your other marketing campaigns, mostly web-based, like Facebook, PPC, or whatever, just so you have that kind of secondary bundle of names in there. I feel like we've done a ton of web-based and online marketing. And no one's ever really told me that, hey, why don't you take all of these lists you're skip tracing and throw them into these other avenues, just to kind of get back in front of these folks. So if you're not doing that, just FYI, it's a pretty easy and good way to do it. Whether you do it through Google's like retargeting platform or you do it through Facebook, there's some, if nothing else, the folks that you're calling, at least they'll get some brand recognition, the ones that actually want something, actually want to do a deal.
No, I love that.
Yeah, man. So what else? So you started 5 or 6 years ago, after kind of selling cars. How did the progression go with how many deals the first couple of years to what you're doing now?
Yeah. Man, I wish I could say it was like hard, but I think like I was working hard. So to answer your question, how the progression, it took me 3 months to get the first deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing MLS. So things on MLS happen quickly, right? Because it's like I email an offer out and then the agents either accept, counter, or deny or reject the offer, like within a day typically. So I started sending offers. I was getting replies like that afternoon. And then so like it wasn't long before I started getting contracts signed, and then talking to, like everything happened so quickly.
Right.
It was just a time in the market. Could I have been fortunate? Could I was just in the right place at the right time? Was I working hard? I don't know. It's all perception, but I do know I was working a shitload because it took me while I was waiting those 3 months to get the first deal, I was still working at the dealer. So I was really doing this part-time.
Yeah.
And if anyone's been in the auto industry, it's a shitload of hours, and it's Saturdays, it's Sundays, whatever. So that was like my progression to get that first deal. Then once I got that first deal, and then I'm like, all right, I'm sold. All I needed was one. I stopped, and then I hit the MLS super hard, man. I was just like a machine, bro. Like I'd wake up, I wouldn't go to sleep until I did this. It was just a machine. I did everything I needed to do.
Yeah.
And my first year, I think I did like 45 deals.
Wow. Okay.
40 something deals. Majority MLS. I had done maybe out of those 45, I think maybe like 10 of them were off market. The rest were MLS. Yeah, that was an interesting year. That was a lot of change.
Yeah. I mean, that must have been a pretty big jump in income, I assume, right?
Yeah, right. It was. So then it took me about a year. It took me 10 months, 9 or 10 months until I hired somebody.
Okay.
And I ended up getting my cousin and his best friend to work alongside me and help me. Because I wasn't a real estate agent, and I still am not a real estate agent. So my cousin was, and I said, dude, like, why don't I use your license to make these offers? You help me respond to the agents. We'll get the commissions, and maybe we can make more offers and make more money, and then we can split it certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. So we did that, and we worked together for like maybe 2-3 years until recently. We kind of each went our separate ways. But besides that, it was kind of progression, bro. I just like started, hustled for like a year, then got some people, then hired an assistant, then hired, I started doing more off-market leads management, blah, blah, blah. Made a ton of mistakes, lost a ton of money, made a ton of money. Kind of, to not excuse my French, just kind of like fuck shit up until I figured out.
Yeah. Just keep making mistakes, right? Until
Yeah. And I was young, and I'm not very like educated school-wise. Like I read a lot now, but I had no idea like taxes and business and stuff. I was 20 years old, 21 years old when I was like started doing all this stuff. And bro, that was pretty much it. Now, I don't know, I'm just still here doing it.
Man,
I bought a couple rental properties and shit like that.
How many units are you up to on the rental side?
5 single family.
That's pretty good.
I had 10, and I sold 5 earlier this year just because the market was so high, and I got like almost 4x my money.
Wow.
Like I asked every mentor possible, like, man, I don't want to sell them. Like in my heart, I love rentals.
Yeah.
But each mentor that has worth millions of dollars are like, if you can make this much money that you're making selling these rentals, sell them.
Right.
I had 3 mentors tell me, I'm like, all right, I'm going to trust the process, and I did it.
Yeah.
I'm still a little sad, but whatever. It is what it is. So that's a long answer to I have 5 now that I kept.
No, I think that's a fantastic decision. Just, take that money and put it in a market that you're not seeing that huge level of pop, right? If you think you're kind of at the peak and that's why you're selling, go to a more stable market. I think that's a great decision. So cool, man. So you hit it hard out of the gate. So you said, hey, you know what? I figured it out a little bit, and you're just like a machine, just banging it through them. 40 plus deals year one, which is unbelievable. Yeah. Like, especially by yourself. Like, I mean, that's super impressive, bro. Then what, I guess within about a year or so, you hired your cousin, and then you got an assistant and kind of helped kind of go through that. So how did the process of scaling kind of up to where you are now, how did that look?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I think at first I did it right, and then at second I didn't do it right, and I'll tell you what exactly I mean by that. At first, the scaling part, hiring systems, I did it because I needed to do it. Like I just physically couldn't stay up enough hours to get the work done.
Right.
I couldn't reply to enough realtor emails. I couldn't, follow up with the closings on time. Closings weren't happening because I wasn't sending emails. Buyers were texting me, like those things. Like I physically couldn't stay up enough hours to like have that work. So then I hired people to help. So that scaling process in the first like 2 years went well. Like, okay, I need an assistant to help with this. Hire one. I need another salesperson, hire one. So that was the beginning, the very beginning. And then the scaling process, I think it happens to most people, especially in wholesale. It's like, I'm doing a ton of deals. Like I can do every deal ever, all over the world, forever. So you're like, okay, let me get people to kind of help me do more deals forever and all these things. So, I got to the point that I just hired a bunch of salespeople, more people in the MLS, people to go on appointments, lead managers, marketing people, like shit that I look back, I'm like, what the, it isn't. So I got to the point that I had a team of 17 people, like just for wholesale.
Wow.
That's huge, right?
So that's a big team.
And that was a mistake. This was a long answer to how my skating went. It was good because I did it because of demand.
Yeah.
Then I tried to artificially create this demand. I got like this huge team. And we did a bunch of deals. We had months that we did 17 deals in a month, 15 deals in a month, shit like that.
Yeah.
And but it was just like, was artificial. We weren't making a lot of net profit. Then I realized this. And then we just started scaling down, and then we scaled up and then scaled down. Until where I am now that I'm a little bit more scaled down. I think we got like, we just hired somebody. So we're 8 people now.
Okay.
And it just goes to show you that like scaling, I think, is not a very upward trajectory process. It's more, what I think like this, or at least been my experience. Maybe, if you have like an Amazon or something, you go through that. But typically in real estate or wholesale or something, you got cycles, you got months that you do great, months that you do not so great. And I would say my scaling system has not been very good, but out of demand would be the best way that we've been able to scale. Just, all right, now we need more salespeople because we get too many appointments, so let's hire a salesperson. It's kind of like how I look at it now.
Well, no, honestly, like I think that's really good the way you kind of went through it. I mean, obviously, if you could had a crystal ball and you can go back and use the hindsight that you received and go and apply it, that'd be one thing. But just given that you realize that I guess the issues so early on in your career, like that'll stick with you for a long time, right? So I mean, It's really, really cool to have and say, okay, well, I was just growing. I was just adding people because I thought I needed to add people, and we were making a bunch of money. So let's do this and let's hand off any tasks I didn't want to do. And next thing you know, you've got 17 folks, and you're like, okay, yeah, we're doing a ton of business. It's cool. Like we can high five and say we did 150 deals, but the amount of money we're making is probably about the same when it comes down to the bottom line. And now you've got all the brain damage of this huge team, right?
Right.
And what's that?
I don't want to discourage people of like not having big teams. I'm just saying like do it out of demand instead of like out of ego or out of pride, or what I'm saying? Like, if you physically have, 50 leads a day coming in, all right, hire another leads manager, hire 2 salespeople, like you physically cannot stay up enough to serve these leads.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got 10 leads, you don't need 3 or 4 or 7 salespeople, so that's kind of.
Absolutely. Well, no, I mean, it's cool though. So you said, okay, well, I scaled up, and they said, all right, well, that doesn't make a bunch of sense. And then you adjusted course and righted the ship, and now you've got it back to a level, and you're like, okay, well, based on the demand that we're doing, now we're on track, and you've got the right butts in the right seats, and you're kind of pushing forward. I think that's really cool to be able to make that correction. And that's a big step. A lot of folks will get tripped up pretty big on that. So now, you've scaled, kind of away from the MLS a bit. You still have some deals coming in. You're doing direct marketing. You've got your team of 7 or 8 now, and on track to do 65 to 70 deals this year, right?
Yep.
And on a positive note, as you've kind of refined all that and dug into it, now your profit spreads over twice what it was, which is huge, right? And selling rentals. So are you out there actively looking to, well, actually, let me back up from that. I was going to talk about rentals, but let's kind of push into the wholesale side. So 65 to 70 deals by year end this year. Where do you see that shaking out for 2020?
Good question, man. I don't have a good answer because I like to use data for most of my answers, and I just haven't dug into enough data to like give you like a. And that's kind of not what we're expecting.
No, it's all good, man.
If I were to give like an opinion, I would say there's probably just about the same deals to be done.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to make a huge change next year. That's what I think, but I don't know. I don't know if I guess were you asking more like deal wise? Do you think we could do more next year or less next year, or like just
Yeah.
market wise?
No. Are you planning on doing more deals next year? I mean, so like a couple ways to look at it, right? Like you either do less and say, hey, we're going to cut some of the team and sit back on our heels. You say, hey, you know what? I don't think we're going to really ramp up and do a bunch more deals, but I think we're going to work on margin, right? Like I think we're going to try and take our spread from 20 a deal to 25 or so, 30 a deal, and kind of work that angle, or say, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to crush it and bring in a bunch of, third party cold callers and get up to 100 deals, but try and keep our margin where it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say, I think I want to keep the same team and become like super lean and super profitable. Because I've seen scale and I've seen a huge team, and it's not that I'm scared of it or don't want to do it. I just want to make sure I do it a little bit more methodically now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if like the first half of the year we crush it and huge margins and we have a lot more money for marketing and we can, then hell yeah, I'm going fast.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Are you actively out there looking for net worth growth? Are you looking to get more rentals and kind of build more of a passive portfolio, anything like that?
Not at this moment. I would say probably after Q2 next year is when I'm going to actively start again.
Okay. Is that because of something you see in the market or just where your time allocation is?
Time and like business, I guess like business finance goals. I want to get the business to a place where it has enough reserves and enough like cash flow to sustain it for 6 months without even worrying about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be there by Q2 next year. And then after that, I can think about like how to get the net worth up.
Very good. No, that's great. Cool, man. So as you've kind of built out this business, it's really, really cool because it kind of came, just out of the blue. You weren't actively looking to make a big change. You just happened to stumble across it and then got excited about it. So since you've kind of gotten to a level of success that you have, what's been or who's been kind of a big motivator for you, in the last couple of years that's really kind of either kept you on point or kind of corrected the ship and got you closer to where you want to be?
Yeah, that's a good one, man. I definitely, my dad, my old man is a big kind of influence in that.
Cool.
He kind of started from nothing, created the car dealership, and does super well. But more like in this industry, I think between the mastermind, the guys in Sean Terry, these guys, my coach Brett, those guys, they really have shaped the way that I think and the way I make decisions on things in this business, and business decisions in general, focus, time, things like that. So I would say my dad, and then a lot of the coaches from the masterminds, and specifically Brett, the coach I have now.
No, that's terrific. Yeah, we do one-on-one coaching with Brett as well, and he's gonna. He's just a stud. We were just in Cabo together 3 weeks ago, and got to spend some time with him. And man, he's an impressive dude. He's just fantastic, keeping on track too. It's super cool.
He's a machine. I don't know how he does it because we're different in that sense. Like I'm a machine in the sense of like I do what I got to do, but he's like a machine. Like every minute of this day is calculated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting, but those types of things, like being around those people, and just talking to them on the phone and being around them in Cabo or having a drink with them, it's just like opens your mind to what's possible, what you could do with your time. It's possible. He's a relatively young guy and super, super successful.
Yeah. And he just thinks he thinks differently. He thinks a lot more mature than what you would assume. Not to take anything away from him. I think it's a huge compliment, but it's just the way that he processes things and the way that he thinks things through and kind of analyzes them. I would have, if you just talked to him on the phone and you never met him, I would assume that he was much older than he is based on kind of his intellectual strength there. And it's super impressive. I love the guy.
Yeah. I think be a coach, man. If you guys are out there, like, dude, I'm sure Rob, you can like attest to that, man. Having a coach that's like for you in the business that you want to be in and have the results you want to have, like, dude, somebody that like, holds you accountable and talks and pushes you is key, bro. my whole journey, I've always had some type of coach and mentor. And I think that's so key. I think it's so key, man.
100%. I don't, a lot of people kind of get tripped up on that. They think it's all a scam, which is just total bullshit. I mean, I've had a business coach, almost since I quit my full-time job. And then, these mastermind events and these mastermind groups that we get involved with, it's just, and then we still, every time we need a specific niche thing or need to grow to another level, we'll kind of just pull in somebody else. And, right now we've been working with Brett for about 6 months, and it's been hugely impactful. Prior to that, worked with Kent and Sean and a handful of different folks. And I can't attest to it enough. Just like you're speaking. It keeps you on course, and more than anything, it just like, it accelerates the learning curve.
Yeah.
Folks that have already kind of been there, and can keep you out of the gutters, and then also keeping down the middle, going faster and faster. It's impressive.
Oh, yeah. No, it's amazing. So definitely, bro.
Cool, man. Hey, so here's a tough one for you. So, you realize success at a pretty young age, and you're still pretty damn young. Are you 27 yet?
26.
26. Okay.
My birthday's in 2 weeks.
All right. There you go. Well, cool, man. So like, let's talk about that. What's it like to realize that, level success and have 17 people working for you, or 8 people working for you now, or whatever it is, and then have this amount of deals going on at such a young age? Like, what did you learn along that path?
Oh, man. I think about that pretty often. But I don't think about it in the sense of like, I've reached a level of success. I think like most people always trying to achieve more, and it's a commonality there.
Yeah.
So yeah, statistically, I guess based on age and income, I guess you could say that I reached, a little bit higher level, but it's nothing much there. I think more the way I see it is like, what have I learned from all this stuff? Because really a lot of it's like stuff and like bullshit and events that happen. Excuse my French.
It's all good.
I try to keep my cursing to the minimum, but I think, man, I just look back at it and I'm like, fuck, I made so many mistakes, bro. Like, yeah, it's what I really like gets me is like, man, I made so many mistakes, but I still made enough money to live, and I still made enough money to buy rentals, and so like, it just goes to show you that no matter what age, even like if you go through all the crap and you get even some small successes, like it could be more than enough. I don't know if that makes sense. So just like a bunch of shit happened, right? I made mistakes. I sent mail, didn't make money. I hired people when I shouldn't have. I overpaid for this. I, missed out on this. I didn't pay taxes this year. All this stuff happened, and I'm still living, and I'm still like a normal person. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a weird like dynamic. In a sense, like, I'm proud that I did that, and I'm like upset I made so many mistakes, but I'm grateful for everything that's happened in the middle.
Sure. Well, absolutely, man. So that means you're learning from the mistakes, right? That's a huge, huge piece. And then secondly, like, it's kind of the life of an entrepreneur. Like, you go out on a limb thinking that you've got the confidence in yourself, and you put yourself in a position that you can make more money than you would being able or ever be able, working for somebody else. And knowing that you don't know all the pieces, and you're going to have to figure it out. And it's really going to come down to how fast can you figure it out, and how fast can you correct after you recognize a mistake to be able to go. And that's all it really comes down to, right? And then, so you've been able to do it. You did it at a really young age, which is super impressive, because a lot of folks don't have that kind of level of fortitude, or that level of kind of mental understanding and strength to be able to do that. Hire these folks, have them all work. You hire 17 folks or 8 folks an hour, and any of that doesn't matter. They're still, their livelihood is based on their employment through you, and all of, so it's like probably not thinking about that at the time, but really that's the case, right? And inherently there's mistakes, and you say, okay, well, the fact of the matter, you were able to correct the mistakes and push forward and still live to fight another day, and remain successful and keep going and learn from them and push. So it's super cool. And I think you're probably on the younger end of the folks in the mastermind that we're involved in. Best that I know. I don't think of many folks that are in the group that are less than 30.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, In like the elite, I think there was a few. In the elite, there was a few.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure. Yeah. Maybe in the elite. That makes sense.
yeah.
Um,
But it's funny. Like, I mean, I realized I was younger when I went to these events, and like relatively, I was younger. But I don't see it so much that way because then I'll compare myself to like, all right, but Justin Bieber and Kylie Jenner are worth billions, and they're my age, So
yeah.
so, like some people are like, yeah, but you got kids that you went to school with, aren't they? I'm like, I don't care about those people. I care, like, not that I care about Bieber's money or anything, but I'm just saying, like, if you elevate your thinking, you're not going to kind of compare to certain people, even if they're higher or lower. But if you think about the big perspective, it's like, well, technically, if I'm young, if you want to compare myself to all young 26 people, like, there's no 26-year-olds worth billions at this point.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, and I mean, it's like, so you finally get there, and then you'll probably adjust your perspective again,
like,
looking up and say, okay, well, the folks that aren't there, it's whatever.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get there anyway. I'm looking that way. So that's just kind of, inherently the how we're all made, We're always kind of looking up at the next group and saying, well, why not that? Let's go.
No, that's
cool, man. So what, here's a tough one for you. So you've had success. What do you think you do differently than most folks that give you that 1 or 2% that make you kind of better, like that makes you successful while other folks don't? Like what do you think that little difference is that you do every day that really makes the difference?
I think it's sticking to some kind of routine in the morning is good. It's like a very hands-on, do it right now type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The intangible, I would say, is like the 10%, I would say, figuring things out, like putting pieces together to figure out a deal, figure out a relationship, figure out who can I get around that could tell me this, like I call it like a figured out muscle, like just, I don't know how to do rehab. So why don't I ask someone that does, like just figuring things out to get to the result that you want.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably what I do 10% better than most people, I think. It's just kind of like, no matter what the circumstances are, like I'll always try to find the right people, or I'll always try to find the right situations to get me to my destination.
Oh, that's good. So just to get in there and you don't let adversity hold you down. You just figure it out, make it happen.
Yeah. Just figure it out, man. Get the right coach, be around the right people, whatever, something.
Cool, man. So what, we'll finish it up here. But like, what is it that really still gets you excited about this business? Like what gets you up every morning and keeps you forging forward at the same level that you were 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think I've been asked that one. That was really good. I'm excited about this business. I would just say the return on time on this business is insane if you do it right. Like I still don't think there's any other industry or business that you could get like such a good return on time here. Mm-hmm. Some people say, oh, you got to make how many cold calls, whatever. It's like, dude, 4 hours to make a $20,000 deal. Like, unless you're like the top, lawyer or doctor in the world, you're not going to make that return.
Right.
It happens month after month, day after day, but bigger scale things, you could do that. So what gets me excited is just like scaling the right way or running this business the right way to get like huge return on time. You could literally run this business with just a couple hours a week and make really, really good income.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of getting there is very exciting because then like you open the opportunity to do so many things like you're doing in the commercial space and buying buildings and stuff, which is awesome.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's a great answer. That's really, really cool. So it's kind of like optimizing your business more so you're looking at kind of the value of your time and the amount of income you can make on that same amount of time. So that, okay, even if you made the same amount of money next year, but you can do it with half the time, that's a huge win.
Oh, huge. Because I don't know. I think it's a good way to look at it. I feel like if I was starting again, like at the scaling point, I would have wanted someone to tell me that. Like, hey, look at scaling also for your return on time. If you're okay, you got to pick your battles. If you're okay working 100 hours a week, then but if you're not, then look at scale also on time as well.
That's a really, really impactful point. So that's awesome. I'm glad. That's the best way to end, man. That's huge. It might be the title of the podcast.
Time, son.
Love it. All righty. Well, sweet brother. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Anything I can do to help you? Anything you need?
Bro, just talking to you, I always learn about this commercial. Right before you hit, or before we started, you were telling me about that deal. It got me thinking, like, shit. Because I'm actually planning on. So maybe this is something. So I'm planning on getting a new office, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to buy like some kind of little building or something. Maybe something like what you did was interesting, that I would have to just find someone that'd be willing to do like some kind of partnership. So I guess my question is, what would you see is the best way to like find an office space or a little office building to go in with like little money down or something and add tons of value?
Yeah. So I would obviously determine how much space that you guys want, and then kind of take that as a portion of the deal, or of the overall space of the asset. So like, let's say you guys needed 2,500 feet or something, and let's say you were like, well, you probably need to get about 4 to 5 times that amount of space for it to cover, for the building to cover your expenses, right? Mm-hmm. So like, if you kind of went into it and said, hey, we want to have space, but we also don't want to have to necessarily be responsible for the rent, or look at it that way. However you kind of initial goal setting goes, like that's, one of the ways that we went to it at first was like, okay, well, if we buy a property, how much of the space or how well would the property have to perform so that our rent would be covered or our expense would be covered, so you kind of started it that way. So that just gives you a general perspective of the size of the property to go and look for. So you might say, okay, well, roughly 10,000 to 20,000 feet would allow for that for you, give or take, right? So once you do that, then I would probably like kind of back into some of the metrics like we do on wholesaling every day. Say, hey, well, who's most likely to sell? Well, I mean, obviously you've got distressed sellers and you have folks that want to sell. I would maybe on the commercial side initially look for the more want to sell people, especially if it's going to be in areas that you want to be kind of looking at. Not to say that there wouldn't be distress, but I think you might actually have a better opportunity or faster opportunity to find out on a want to sell. And specifically, if you wanted to kind of come up with some kind of structure where you could get owner financing or some kind of seller take back or some kind of JV deal. So I think, obviously the fastest growing commercial real estate asset class right now is senior living. It's because the baby boomers are aging. And the reason I bring that up is if you went and looked for office buildings that were owned by folks that were 70 plus, for example, right? It might be a good avenue because they're going to want less and less. Actually like active management, but they still maybe want some kind of cash flow coming off the deal. So maybe see if they would sell the property at some reasonable number. You can save the money on the commission or pay yourself back the commission on it, and then try and find a way that they would stay in the deal in some kind of owner financing or take a minority share to leave a certain amount of capital in the deal so you don't have to bring any actual cash to it. And then you're actually bringing value by occupying, 25 to, 15% of the space, whatever the amount of the space is. And then now, you can either choose if it's a more of a debt structure where they're going to kind of owner finance it. Well, maybe you don't have to pay rent or all the other tenants primarily pay the rent because you guys structure it the right way. Or if it's more of a JV deal, maybe you have to pay rent, but it's a JV deal. So the profit's coming back to you anyway. So it kind of nets out to be about the same. That makes sense? Where it's like, so if there's amount of income that trickles, so let's say you pay $15 a foot in rent and all the other tenants pay their portion and it all kind of comes down. And then after that and everything, there's a profit and 80% of it's yours and 20% of it's his, if it's a JV structure or something. Well, so all that profit comes back to you and now it more than offsets the rent. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of go at it and look for deals the same way we do on the wholesale side, whether it's a need to sell or want to sell basis, and then kind of target, specific demographics and buildings and locations you want to be. And then you're kind of adding value in a couple different ways. You're structuring a deal. You're going to, yeah, man.
So basically just call Rob when I got a deal and then we'll figure it out.
That's right. That's the move.
Yeah, bro, I love it.
Yeah. That's kind of how we stumbled in the deal with Steve and Brian up there. I mean, they're doing the same thing. They're going to occupy about 5,000 feet of it and or 4,000 feet of it. And, kind of work out the exact same way.
It's sick. Yeah. I gotta look. So you give me some homework. Now I got some homework to do.
There you go. Well, sweet. Well, give me a holler when you stumble across one, or come into St. Louis and take a look at kind of what we did and maybe give you some more ideas.
Yeah, bro. Let's do it, man.
Sweet.
Yeah, we got to set up some time. Either you guys come down here, I go up there. I want to check out what you guys got going on and just talk. I think you guys are always doing some stuff, and you have the brokerage thing going on, which we were trying to grow as well. So it'd be pretty cool. We chat a little bit more and see how we can help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. It's a great way to do it. Well, let's end this in the podcast, and we can circle around and catch up and figure out a time that works.
Yeah, I want to get you on my podcast, man. We'll do it another day. I'm gonna set it up with your girl. Sweet,
man. Just let me know when. 100%.
Yes, bro. But thanks, bro.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Level 10 Podcast. Level 10. Second time I did that. Thanks for tuning in to Level Up Podcast, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
All right.
Hey guys, as always, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Bottleneck Real Estate Virtual Assistants. These guys are fantastic. We've been using them for years in our business. They've really helped us scale. They can handle really any task related to real estate, whether it be for the investing side, real estate agents, lenders, but specifically we use them for our contract to close process, our transaction coordination, also for phone and email correspondence. We really use them for working with the insurance company, working with utility on and offs, dealing with anything in our CRM, graphic design. I mean, really anything that you can need, they work really, really well with that. And the also really big benefit that this group has is they help with onboarding and tracking for that process. So they've got folks here locally in the States that can help build out some of your systems and processes, whether it be contract to close or contract coordination, kind of define the different steps that are necessary when the virtual assistant needs to contact who on that process. And then also the folks here can kind of set you up with a tracking system so that the virtual assistants are responsible for updating the tracking forms, providing those tracking forms to you to make sure that everything is going smoothly and staying on course. Probably one of the best pieces that this group can really do for you. But hopefully you guys like them as much as we do. If you want to get in touch, it's bottleneckrealestate.com, bottleneckrealestate.com, and I think you will be very happy with them. All right, guys, I hope you liked that. If you got some good quality content out of that, if you think it would help anybody, please go to iTunes or SoundCloud or whoever you're listening to this on and subscribe to the podcast. Also, please give us a 5-star rating. It really helps get us out there. If you do subscribe and give us a 5-star rating, take a screenshot of it, email it over to info@robertheider.com, robertheyder.com, and register for you guys to win a free one-on-one coaching session with myself or one of our guests. They were nice enough to give up some of their time, so thank you for that. Also, please follow us on social media, Robert_Heider at Instagram, Robert_Heider at Instagram. We'll drop some really quality content there. Also, I almost forgot, if you guys want a free commercial real estate guide and commercial real estate analysis tool, just go to the website, robertheider.com, fill out that brief little form, and we'll email that over to you. It's a really, really good tool just to be able to analyze deals quickly, understand kind of what's going on, and see if it's actually a deal. All right, guys, thanks. Until next one.